Krishna Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So text 25. Yan upajushananam na kachachit api prajanam vali palita klamav sweda.
Yan upajushananam na kadachit api prajanam vali palita klamav sweda.
Daurgandhya jaramaya mrityu shitoshna vaivarnyopasagadayas tapa vishesha.
Daurgandhya jaramaya mrityu shitoshna vaivarnyo pasargadayas tapa vishesha.
Bhavanti yavad jivam sukham niratishayameva.
Bhavanti yavad jivam sukham niratishayameva. Very good.
Yes, please.
Translation. The residents of the material world who enjoy the products of these flowing rivers have no wrinkles in their bodies and no grey hair. They never feel fatigue, and perspiration does not give their bodies a bad odor. They are not afflicted by old age, disease, or untimely death. They do not suffer from chilly cold or scorching heat, nor do their bodies lose their luster. They all live very happily without anxieties until death. Purport. This verse hints at the perfection of human society even within this material world. The miserable conditions of this material world can be corrected by a sufficient supply of milk, yogurt, honey, ghee, molasses, food grains, ornaments, bedding, sitting places, and so on. This is human civilization. Ample food grains can be produced through agricultural enterprises, and profuse supplies of milk, yogurt, and ghee can be arranged through cow trade. Abundant honey can be obtained if the forests are protected. Unfortunately, in modern civilization, men are busy killing the cows that are the source of yogurt, milk, and ghee. They are cutting down all the trees that supply honey, and they are opening factories to manufacture nuts, bolts, automobiles, and wine instead of engaging in agriculture. How can the people be happy? They must suffer from all the misery of materialism. Their bodies become wrinkled and gradually deteriorate until they become almost like dwarfs, and a bad odor emanates from their bodies because of unclean perspiration, resulting from eating all kinds of nasty things. This is not human civilization. If people actually want happiness in this life and want to prepare for the best in the next life, they must adopt a Vedic civilization. In a Vedic civilization, there is a full supply of all necessities mentioned above. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. So, and we saw yesterday, Annad Bhavanti Bhutani, Parjanyad Anna Sambhava. Yajnat Bhavati Parjanyo, Yajna Karma Samudbhava. Also in the same chapter, actually, Lord Krishna is explaining in third chapter of Gita that in the beginning of creation, the creator, the father of mankind, gave them yajna and said, "Be thou happy with this yajna." So, human life is meant for realization of the Supreme Lord. Dharmasya apavargasya na artho arthaya kalpate. So, dharma is given to human beings only. Dharmo hitesham adhiko vishesho. Only human beings have this facility for executing dharma. Human being must have, like, he must follow the Varna ashram, and he must cultivate spiritual knowledge, and he must try to realize the Supreme in the short duration of his life. That is the purpose of human life. Now, in this age of Kali, dharma is completely forgotten. And therefore, we can see there are so many consequences. Actually, Srila Prabhupada explains the real standard of even material happiness is ahara nidra bhaya maithun, as we were discussing yesterday also. Food should be good. There should be no fear. One should sleep without anxiety, and one should have no anxiety while mating. So in previous ages, like for example, Srila Prabhupada explains that, marriage was fixed when the husband and wife were children. Marriage was fixed, and there was no concept of love marriage as such in civilized society. But today it has become like a dog and cat like culture. You see any woman on the street who's attractive, you just follow her and then she's yours. So this is like what dogs also do. Not human beings don't do this. This, marriage is based on bodily attraction. They should be based on horoscope. They should be based on the nature, and they should be for spiritual cultivation. They should not be okay, because husband and wife can get married and they can raise a lot of money and then have lots of sex. That is animal culture. So Ahara, Nidra, Bhai, Maithun are totally disturbed in this today's society, and therefore we can say that today is actually a poverty-stricken society. So when one follows Varnashram properly, all the facilities of life are properly given. Yagyat bhavati parajanyo, yagya karma samudbhava. Yagya is born of prescribed duties, and rains are produced by performance of yagya. All the material facilities are obtained from yagya. If yagya is done nicely, then people will have lots of material facilities also, and they'll be happy. And at the end of this life, they'll go back to Godhead. That's the Vedic arrangement. Actually, the Lord is very merciful. Even though we are rebellious, He provides all the facilities for us to live happily in this life and return back to Him after finishing this. When this order is disturbed, then we have all sorts of difficulties. For example, here in the Western society, we see the lands are very poor quality. The weather is very harsh. And therefore, the diet is generally meat. I was just reading some calculation from an economist that the West cannot actually switch to vegetarian diet fully because the quality of crops is so poor that there will be no nourishment practically. Like, for example, here in the Nordic regions where we live, except for potatoes and carrots and some very low quality vegetables, nothing grows really. And that too only for 3 to 4 months a year. So the remaining time, they just grow some very bad quality plants and feed them to animals and eat the flesh. This is an indication of a very sinful society. And this also indicates that no yajna is being performed. And as soon as this good karma is finished, these societies will also be finished. The collective karma will come and these societies will be destroyed. And we can see now that there are clouds of war all over the world.
Yes.
We can see that there are clouds of war everywhere, and this is because of not performing yajna. Demigods do not tolerate such impudent behavior. On the other hand, when yajna is performed, all the facilities are given. Milk, yogurt, ghee, honey. Today I was having discussion with one devotee on this topic. We were discussing the topic of mathematics and physics. We can see that the devotee was mentioning that it is so illusory that one can eventually become so captivated by complex mathematics and physical laws. So that's actually just another form of Maya. That's just another form of Maya. That we become so captivated by the laws of nature that we do not understand what is the purpose behind them. These great ancient societies, Mahabharata, Ramayana, Satyug, Dwapar, Treta Yug, these societies were brilliant. Why then they did not invent engineering and astronomy, astrophysics and other things? They had all the information and they had all the intelligence. But they did not invent this electrical engineering, mechanical engineering, computer engineering, or other things. Because these things are just manifestations of Maya. They captivate our mind in such great details that we have no propensity left for serving the Supreme Lord. And we become extremely miserable. As we extract petroleum and minerals from the earth becomes more poor, earth becomes more and more injured. And then she also retaliates by withdrawing her facilities. Therefore, we see poorer and poorer quality of crops. And we see so many things. Very interesting point, one of my doctors had mentioned to me that Kerala and Maharashtra are two states of India. And Maharashtra is heavily industrialized, whereas Kerala is under communist and it has no industrialization. He was saying that all the Ayurvedic doctors procure medicines either from the Himalayas or from Kerala, because Maharashtrian soil is so poor quality that the herbs and plants that grow there practically have zero nutrition. The same medicinal plant that grows in Kerala, for example, he was giving me an example that black tulsi leaf, if you take it from Kerala and put it on your tongue will go numb with the pungency of the leaf. But if you take the same leaf in Maharashtra, you will get a very mild fragrance. So we can see that as we pollute the earth with more and more industries, the earth also starts reciprocating in kind, and she withdraws her blessings, and the crops become poorer quality, and we are reduced to eating flesh and other obnoxious items. And therefore the bodies shrivel, they look hideous, they look ugly, and then they emit bad smell. Increase, sure sign of increase of mode of passion. Hare Krishna. Is any questions or comments? We continue. Actually, according to Ayurveda, strict observance of brahmacharya also endows one with very long life. Yeah, we continue. Text 26. Kuranga kurara kusumbha vaikanka trikuta shishira patanga ruchaka.
Kuranga Kudara
Kudara Kusambha
Vaikanka Trikuta Shishira Patanga
Nishada Srinivas Kapila Shankha Vaidurya Jarudhi Hansa Rishabha Naga.
Nishada
Srinivasa Kapila Shankha Vaidurya
Jarudhi Hamsa Rishabha
Kalanjara Naradadyo Vimshati Girayo Mero Karnikaya Iva Kesara Bhuta Mula Deshe Parita Uklapta.
Kalanjaro Naradadayo
Vimshati Girayo
Mero
Nikaya Ivakeshara Bhuta Mula Desha Parita Uplaptaha.
Yes, would someone like to read?
Translation. There are other mountains beautifully arranged around the foot of Mount Meru, like the filaments around the wall of lotus flower. Their names are Kuranga, Kurara, Kusumba, Vaikanka, Trikuta, Sisira, Patanga, Ruchaka, Nishada, Srinivasa, Kapila, Sankha, Vaidurya, Jarudhi, Hamsa, Rishabha, Naga, Kalanchara, and Narada. Hare
Krishna. So, a very interesting point here, these descriptions of mountains. So, Trikuta mountain is where the pastime of Gajendra Moshu takes place. Text 27. Jathara Devakutau Melum Purve na Dasha Yojana Sahasram.
Chatara Deva Kutau Merum Purve Vena Star Dasa Yojana Sahasram
Udagayatau Dvisahasram Pruthutungau Bhavataha Evam Aparena.
Udagatau Sahasram Prithu Tungau Bhavataha Evam Aparena.
Pavana Pariyatrau Dakshinena Kailas Karavirau Praga Ayatavevam.
Pavana Pariyatrau Dakshinena Kailasa Karavirau Prag Ayatav Evam
Uttaratas Trishanga Makarao Ashtabhir Etahe Parisrito Gnir Iva Paritash Chakasti Kanchana Giri.
Uttaratas Trishringa Makarav Astabhir Etai Parishrito Agnir Iva Paritas Chakshati Kanchana Girihi.
On the eastern side of Sumeru mountain are two mountains named Jathara and Devakuta, which extend to the north and south for 18,000 yojanas, 144,000 miles. Similarly, on the western side of Sumeru are two mountains named Pavana and Pariyatra, which also extend north and south for the same distance. On the southern side of Sumeru are two mountains named Kailash and Karavir, which extend east and west for 18,000 yojanas, and on the northern side of Sumeru, extending for the same distance east and west, are two mountains named Trishranga and Makara. The width and height of all these mountains is 2,000 yojanas, 16,000 miles. Sumeru, a mountain of solid gold shining as brilliantly as fire, is surrounded by these 8 mountains. So we can understand actually that these mountains are actually planets. They are like floating mountains. Text 28. Meror Murdhani Bhagavat Atma योनेर मध्यत उपक्लप्ताम पुरीम
मेरोर्मूर्धनि भगवत आत्मयोनिर्मध्यत तां पुरीम्
अयुत योजन साहस्रीम समचतुरास्राम शातकौंभीम वदन्ति.
अयुत योजन सहस्रीं समचतुरार्धराम शातकुंभीं वदन्ति.
In the middle of the summit of Meru is the township of Lord Brahma. Each of its 4 sides is calculated to extend for 10 million yojanas, 80 billion miles. It is made entirely of gold, and therefore learned scholars and sages call it Shatakombhi. In the middle of the summit of Mount Meru. So Mount Meru is actually the axis of the universe around which all the planetary systems rotate. And at the very summit of this mountain is the planet of Lord Brahma. So we can understand that this is actually a subtle mountain. It's not like we can see Meru shining in the morning. Because we can see that Brahmalok is actually visible from Earth also, like visible to naked eyes. But it is very difficult to understand. And Mount Meru is passing through Earth. So you can imagine how big this mountain must be. 29. Tam anuparito lokam lokapalanam ashtanam yatha disham yatha rupam.
ताम् अनुपरितो लोकपालानां अष्टानां यथा दिशं यथा रूपं
प्रियमानेन पुरोष्ट्वा उपक्लृप्ता.
प्रियमानेन पुरोष्ट्वा उपक्लृप्ता.
Surrounding Brahmapuri in all directions are the residences of 8 principal governors of the planetary systems, beginning with King Indra. These abodes are similar to Brahmapuri but are on 1/4 of the size. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur confirms that the townships of Lord Brahma and 8 subordinate governors of the planetary systems, beginning with Indra, are mentioned in other Puranas. Mero Nava Purani Shur Manovatya Amaravati Tejovati Samyamani Tatha Krishnangana Para Shraddhavati Gandhavati Tatha Chanya Mahodaya Yashovati Cha Brahmendra Bahyadinam Yathakramam. Brahma's township is known as Manovati, and those of his assistants such as Indra and Agni are known as Amravati, Tejovati, Samyamani, Krishangana, Shraddhavati, Gandhavati, Mahodaya, and Yashovati. Brahmapuri is situated in the middle, and all the other 8 Puris surround it in all directions. Thus end the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 5th canto, 16th chapter of Srimad Bhagavatam, entitled A Description of Jambudvipa. Chapter 17. The 17th chapter describes the origin of the Ganges river and how it flows in and around Ilavarthavarsh. There is also a description of the prayers Lord Shiva offers to Lord Sankarshan, part of the quadruple expansions of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Lord Vishnu once approached Bali Maharaj while king was performing a sacrifice. The Lord appeared before him as Trivikram or Vamana and begged alms from the king in the form of 3 steps of land. With 2 steps, Lord Vaman covered all 3 planetary systems and pierced the covering of the universe with the toes of his left foot. A few drops of water from the causal ocean leaked through this hole and fell on the head of Lord Shiva, where they remained for 1000 millenniums. These drops of water are the sacred Ganges river. It first flows onto the heavenly planets, which are located on the soles of Lord Vishnu's feet. The Ganges river is known by many names, such as Bhagirathi and Jahnavi. It purifies Dhruvalok and the planets of the 7 sages, because both Dhruva and the sages have no desire other than to serve the Lord's lotus feet. The Ganges river, emanating from the feet of the Lord, inundates the heavenly planets, especially the moon, and then flows through Brahmapuri atop Mount Meru. Here the river divides into 4 branches, known as Sita, Alakananda, Chakshu, and Bhadra, which then flows down to the ocean of salt water. The branch known as Sita flows through Shekhar Parvat and Gandhamadan Parvat, and then flows down to Bhadrashva Vash, where it mixes with the ocean of salt water in the west. The Chakshu branch flows through Malyavangiri and after reaching Ketumala Varsh, mixes with the ocean of salt water in the west. The branch known as Bhadra flows onto Mount Meru, Mount Kumud, and the Nila, Shweta, and Shangavan mountains before it reaches Kurudesha, where it flows into the ocean of the salt water in the north. The Alaknanda branch flows through Brahmale, crosses over many mountains, including the Hemakut and Himakut, and then reaches Bharatvarsh, where it flows into the southern side of the ocean of salt water. Many other rivers and their branches flow through the 9 Varshas. The tract of land known as Bharatvarsh is the field of activities, and the other 8 Varshas are for persons who are meant to enjoy heavenly comfort. In each of these 8 beautiful provinces, the celestial denizens enjoy various standards of material comfort and pleasure. A different incarnation of the Supreme Personality of Godhead distributes his mercy in each of the 9 Varshas of Jambudvipa. In the 11th Varsh, Lord Shiva is the only male. There he lives with his wife Bhavani, who is attended by many maidservants. Any other male enters that province. If any other male enters that province, Bhavani curses him to become a woman. Lord Shiva worships Lord Sankarshan by offering various prayers, one of which is as follows. My dear Lord, please liberate all your devotees from material life and bind all non-devotees to the material world. Without your mercy, no one can be released from the bondage of material existence. So we start with text 1. Shri Shuka Uvacha Tatra Bhagavatah Sakshad Yagyalingasya Vishnora Vikramato Vama
Tatra Bhagavata Sakshat Yajna-lingasya Vishnu
Vishnu Vikramato Vama
Padangushta Nakha Nirbhinnora Nirvindva Dand Kataha Vivaranamtah Pravishta
Padangushta Nirbhinnor Kataha Vivaranantaha Pravishta
Ya Bahya Jaladhara Tatcharana Pankajavane Jana
Pravishta ya Bhaya Jaladhara Satcharana Ankajavanen Jana Aruna
Pinjala Koparan Jitakhila Jagad Agha Malapaho Pasparshanamala Sakshat
Pinjala Kopara
Paranjit
Jita
Akila
Akila
Jagad
Jagat
Agamala Paho
Bahosha
Pasparshanamala
Prashana Mala
Sakshat
Bhagavad Paditya Anupalakshita Vacho Vidyamanati Mahata Kalena
Bhagavat Padita
Anupalakshita
Anupalakshita Vacho
Abhidhyama
Abhidhiyamanati
Nanati Mahata Kalena
Yuga Sahasro Palakshanena Divo Murdhyanya Avatatar Yattad Vishnu Padam Ahu
Yuga Sahasropalakshanena Divo
Diva Murdani Avatatara
Yattad
Vishnu
Padam
Padam Ahu.
May I read?
Hare Prabhu? Go on, Mataji. Carry on.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, My dear King, Lord Vishnu, the enjoyer of all sacrifices, appeared as Vamanadev in the sacrificial arena of Bali Maharaj. Then he extended his left foot to the end of the universe and pierced a hole in its covering with the nail of his big toe. Through the hole, the pure water of the causal ocean entered this universe as the Ganges River. Having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of the Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. Yet its waters remain ever pure, because the Ganges directly touches the lotus feet of the Lord before descending within this universe. She is known as Vishnupadi. Later, she received other names like Jahnavi and Bhagirathi. After 1,000 millenniums, the water of the Ganges descended on Dhruvaloka the topmost planet in this universe. Therefore, all learned sages and scholars proclaim Dhruvaloka to be Vishnupara, situated on Lord Vishnu's lotus feet. Purport. In this verse, Shukadev Goswami describes the glories of the Ganges River. The water of the Ganges is called Patita Pavani, the deliverer of all sinful living entities. It is a proven fact that a person who regularly bathes in the Ganges is purified both externally and internally. Externally, his body becomes immune to all kinds of disease, and internally, he gradually develops a devotional attitude toward the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Throughout India, many thousands of people live on the banks of the Ganges, and by regularly bathing in her waters, they are undoubtedly being purified both spiritually and materially. Many sages, including Shankaracharya, have composed prayers in praise of the Ganges, and the land of India itself has become glorious because such rivers as the Ganges, Yamuna, Godavari, Kaveri, Krishna, and Narmada flow there. Anyone living on the land adjacent to these rivers is naturally advanced in spiritual consciousness. Shri Madhvacharya says, Varahe Vama Padam tu tad anyeshu tu dakshinam Padam kalpeshu Bhagavan Ujjahara Trivikrama. Standing on his right foot and extending his left to the edge of the universe, Lord Vaman became known as Trivikrama, the incarnation who performed 3 heroic deeds. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you. So, having washed the lotus feet of the Lord, which are covered with reddish powder, the water of Ganges acquired a very beautiful pink color. Every living being touching can immediately purify his mind of material contamination by touching the transcendental water of the Ganges. So we can see actually, the land of India is so, so auspicious. Actually, like if you go in the north, we have Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati rivers. In the south, we have the Panchadravida. There is Narmada, there is Godavari, there is Krishna, there is Kaveri, and these are mighty rivers. Like if you see River Krishna or Godavari, they're like huge rivers. Mahanadi, these are like very auspicious waters. And these waters are always purifying the land. Actually, if one is fortunate enough to give up his body in these waters, one will at least go to heavenly planets. That's the impact of these rivers. However, the point that is important is that one has to keep his consciousness pure. Material nature is always contaminating. So if one wants to purify himself, then there is every facility in India. But if one doesn't want to purify himself, then this water will not help much. So this is a question which is being asked by Parikshit Maharaj also to Shukdev Goswami in the very beginning. What is the use of prayashchit if one goes back and commits sinful activities? So the point is that the water of Ganga will purify our sinful sinful karma, but the desire for sense gratification we have to give up. So if one desires to give up sense gratification and he takes baths in the rivers of Ganga, in the waters of Ganga or Yamuna or these holy rivers, one's consciousness will be immediately purified. So the point is that the mercy is always existing, we have to take it. One disciple of Srila Prabhupada was asking Prabhupada, please give me your mercy. So Prabhupada said, my mercy is always there. You have to take it. So likewise, the mercy of the Lord is existing. We have to take it. So in this way, you can see that, if you really want to purify yourself, India really has the best of the facilities. But unfortunately, now India is blindly following the West, and we are seeing so much trouble in our lives. India is now economically very rich, but spiritually very poor. Hare Krishna. Is any questions or comments?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. In this connection, I just remember what Keshavan Prabhu had said in one lecture. He said many people who suffer from mental diseases, which apparently appear to be incurable, they're mostly because of envious living entities on the subtle platform, who are troubling or taking control of the mind of such people. So he was saying the only treatment for that is to go and live on the banks of Ganges and have bath over there every day. And people will be cured of that. And he's saying people laugh at me when I say such things, but one or two people who have actually done that have experienced how they have cured.
Yes, that is true. Yes, mental illnesses are a manifestation of ghostly beings. Nowadays, like even in India, people are dying like animals. They live like animals and they die like animals in pure animalistic consciousness. Me, my child, my wife, my property. And when they die, their desires are unfulfilled and their karma is also very bad. They have not performed any purificatory rites. So they have to take birth as ghosts. They get ghostly bodies. So then, if they are somewhat powerful, they're able to take over the minds of weaker men. And these weaker men then become victims of schizophrenia or bipolar disorder or manic depression or such mental diseases. Especially like there's even a disease, multiple personality disorder, MPD. That's literally like, that's in English, that's literally a way of saying that there are multiple ghosts living in his body. So by taking bath in Ganges, by reciting holy names also, one will become purified. If one takes prasadam, visits the temple and lives in the banks of Ganges, but actually, because these ghostly beings are living in the body, one has very less inclination to do these things also. Because the ghostly being doesn't want to go away. So he will drive this man to stay away from holy association.
Yes. I know. But he was saying, like, I being a doctor, when I give such advice to people, like, look at me. Kya bola raha hai?
But he's a sadhu now. He's not a doctor anymore. He can say that. Yeah. So you see, we have to really understand that mercy is there. We just have to take it. Okay, then we stop here today. So thank you very much. Anyone else has any questions or comments? Okay, if not, then we stop here. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna, Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji,